Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So, 2 days ago, I tried to reduce silicon with carbon, and it failed pretty horribly. There were a few issues with it. I didn't get it hot enough. I don't think I got the grain size small enough. And there was just a lot of issues with my methodology there. It just didn't work from the get-go, and I pretty much had an idea that it would have failed in that exact way. So that was a bust. It was rather discouraging. Oh well, move on, right? Well, I came back to my home forge the next day for other purposes, just, regular day-to-day business, and I decided, since I'm over here, I'm going to do something fun, I'm just going to do a little aluminum melt. They're pretty easy, don't require high temperature. I have a lot of aluminum, so I might as well do an aluminum melt, right? So, I did an aluminum melt. And as you guys saw in that video, I created thermite by accident. Iron thermite. One thing that I didn't catch at the time, though, that on closer inspection of the video today I did catch, is that I created another kind of thermite too. Or at least I had the potential to create another thermite. As you all saw in this clip right here, the zoomed in portion, you see the thermite going off in the crucible, but you also see some interesting stuff happening with the bucket. There's some aluminum leaking out the side because I was casting some aluminum into a ring mold that I had made, and it was sunken into some sand inside of a cheap plastic bucket. Well, some of that aluminum spilled into the sand, as I figured it probably would, and it ran out the side, which was kind of unfortunate. But as you can see, when I poked it out the side, some oddly luminescent flakes came out, and it got me thinking, is aluminum a good reducer for silicon? So I looked it up. Turns out, you can reduce silicon dioxide with elemental aluminum. And it happens below the melting temperature of aluminum, from what I've read. Now, I don't know if that's with the sulfur or not, but I hear that sulfur is what you want to use if you're going to do it in powdered form, but I have no intention of doing this in powder form. No, if I'm going to do this without sulfur, I'm going to do it without sulfur, which means I'm going to puddle that aluminum and put some silicon dioxide at the bottom of that puddle, so that aluminum will react at the proper temperature with that silicon dioxide, and while it may or may not get to the melting point of silicon, I'll get elemental silicon, even if it is, little bits and pieces, tiny little grains. It's what I'm hoping for. I don't know if it'll work or not. I may just end up with like this weird alloy, but I know it worked with iron. Let's see if it works with silicon. Alright everyone, I'm back at my home forge now, so let's get reducing. I'm really hoping that this works. If it does, then the implications are actually quite massive. It means that this camera is right now being supported by 20 pounds of potential silicon. So here's for hoping that this whole setup works. I just loaded up the crucible with some sand and some aluminum, and I think I might have an abundance of aluminum in there, but hey, if that's the case, I guess I'm getting an alloy. Anyway, with that all out of the way, time to get this thing going. And with that, the melt is underway. Alright, so after harvesting some super secret metal, I'm probably breathing in some fumes that ought not be breathed in. This reaction is coming along quite nicely. Okay, so my thought is, if it hasn't reduced by now, after turning up the heat all the way, and yeah, doing some serious stuff to the foundry, then it ain't ever gonna reduce. So I'm going to go ahead, pull off the slag, which I hope is aluminum oxide, and see what I get when I pour it. Almost forgot to preheat. Can't forget to do that. Let's hope this isn't a bad idea. So it's a little while later, and I was just sitting here editing this video, and I just noticed something. It grows! There's sort of a debrief that I want to do on that melt, so I'm pretty sure I just created sandy aluminum, which for those of you that don't know is pretty much aluminum and sand. But I don't know. I might have created silicon. We'll see. See, here's the ingot that I cast. It looks pretty much like aluminum, but I have noticed a few differences in that, you know, it does have that kind of gray color to it. I'm not sure if you guys can really see it or not, but it has a slightly blue tint to it. And also on this side, you might notice there are a few shinier spots on it. They're a little bit iridescent. The more you turn them, the different colors they might show. So that's a little bit interesting, a little bit more uncharacteristic of, say, this aluminum that I cast the day previous, the one where I had the thermite. Although this one's even weird for aluminum because if you look at the top, it's like flat, which is interesting because this other aluminum that I cast, which I'm not entirely sure what the alloy is, I will get back to you guys on that. This right here ingot is curved on top. It seems to have had more surface tension to it, and it's much more of a dull grayish white color. Don't mind that, that's just silversmith polish. But this one has much more of a shiny gray sort of to it. Now, something interesting that I noticed about both of these is that on the bottom, they appear to have not picked up too much from the ingot mold, whereas on this one, the ingot mold left quite a big stain at the bottom of this ingot. And what's also interesting and of note is that on that, there is similar discoloration to what I saw on the shiny parts of this. So I am really wondering about it. And I'll probably run a few tests, probably going to do some sort of volumetric measurement on it, and then see what weight it is, and test out the density, see if it matches that of aluminum. In theory, this should be like the exact weight of aluminum. Weight and volume, should be the same exact density as aluminum. It feels really light, so it could be either aluminum or silicon. Both of them are pretty much a couple of the lightest metals you'll ever encounter. But I don't know. There's no real good way for me to tell what kind of metal this is just by looking at it. So there's that. I've never melted silicon before, so I don't actually know what it looks like. Well, except for in its hyper pure form, broken apart into crystals online. So that's the only experience I have with elemental silicon. So I might have done it. I don't know. We'll see. I will do a little bit more research into it and see what I have created here. And if this is silicon, you better believe I'm going to be doing this again. Anyway, I have gone on long enough about that. Other than that, it was a decently fun melt, although I was kind of discouraged by the amount of slag I pulled off. But it also did kind of look like alumina powder, so there's that. Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.